Welcome back to another session of the 10 Talk, where we're continuing in our series concerning the Raleigh overrides. Today, we will specifically be talking more about the Women in Sports bill and how it was so significant for it to be overturned. We have a special guest in the house with us today to talk more about it. Welcome to another session of the 10 Talk. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the 10 Talk here on Letters to the People. I'm Lakeitha Bobish, a voice for We the People. So today, guys, we're going to continue in our series regarding the overrides that happened in Raleigh just a few weeks ago. You can go ahead and check out my vlog if you'd like to be there in person. We were able to be in the chamber and to witness the historic overturn of overrides of the vetoes of the governor for specific bills having to do with parental rights, transitioning our minors, and the Women's and Rights Sports Bill. What a time to be alive, where we're arguing whether or not only women should be in women's sports. So this, of course, is very close to my heart as somebody who was an athlete for quite some time in middle school, high school, and the beginning of college. So to have worked that hard back then just to be undermined by a male in the sport, I can't even imagine. So today, we have a very special guest here with us to explain and talk about all of her experiences when she went up against a trans athlete, trans girl, in her sport, and her testimony of how she was able to overcome and come out of that, and more about how she's passionate about this bill being passed and overridden. So we have Miss Peyton McNabb with us today. Peyton, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to have you on the show today to talk more about your passion behind this bill and pushing for this bill to be passed in the House and the Senate. You must be so excited.
Yeah, I was so excited. I couldn't stop smiling for a few days because I just was so thankful that that happened for our state.
That is so awesome. So we're going to get more into that in another moment. But here on the 10 Talk, you're able to go ahead and let us know about you. Anything you want to say, you have up to about 10 minutes or so. But, you can take as long or as little as you want. But we want to know more about you, Peyton. Like, what's your story?
Yeah, so I'm from a small town from Murphy, North Carolina. I've lived there my whole life. Played sports since I could walk. I'm a three-sport athlete. I've played basketball, softball, and volleyball
Oh.
forever. And I love sports. It's a very big thing in my family. My dad's very into sports and all of my siblings. So that's really been our life
Wow.
since we could walk.
That's awesome.
And I'm very thankful that I've had the ability to play. And yeah, we're a very athletic family and very sports oriented. And, I'm very into family. I have a strong foundation in Christ, and I'm thankful for I've gotten to grow up, and I'm thankful for my family and my salvation.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. So, specifically, you played basketball, volleyball, other sports. So, what sport so happened to be your favorite one out of all those?
Softball was probably my favorite because I'm pretty sure there was a point where I was on three different teams at one time. So
Wow.
I was a year-round athlete on softball,
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
volleyball was a close second. So
Yeah, well, speaking of volleyball, I guess, that's pretty much one of the reasons why we're here talking today, a little bit more about your volleyball experience. So, were you playing volleyball in high school, middle school, college?
yeah, middle school and high school.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, why don't you let us know a little bit more about your experience in volleyball? So, we know the main reason for you being behind the Women's in Sports bill was because of what you experienced when you had to go up against a trans girl in the sport. So what happened there?
Yeah, so it was like a normal game, kind of, I guess, because we all already knew that there was a transgender athlete on the opposing team. We had to practice differently in preparation for this game. I know my team did, and lots of other teams did as well that had to play against him. Um, so yeah, we couldn't avoid the game. We would have. We wouldn't have played them if it was a choice, but since they were a conference team, we had to play them or there was consequences. And so yeah, we just went into the game. I remember seeing all because we had a very young team last year. And I remember seeing all the faces of the freshmen especially and just the younger classmen in general.
Wow.
They were terrified to play. I mean, seeing him warm up, we've not seen any other girl hit like that, serve like that, block like that. It was like we're not used to that at all. So at that point, I was kind of used to it, which is really horrible. I shouldn't have gotten used to it, but
Right.
I had played against him for 4 years. So I was like, okay, like, I guess we just have to do this again. This is my last time having to do it. And which is really bad. Like I said, like I shouldn't have gotten used to it. It's not
Right.
okay. But at that point, I had played against him for 4 years.
Wow.
So, anyways, going into the game, seeing all the younger girls on the team literally shaking because they are so afraid to play against him.
Right.
And that just absolutely just lit me up, and I was furious. But I was like, let's just try to get through it. I was one of the captains on the team, so I was trying to help everyone
Yeah, that
calm down
motivation.
enough to get through it. And
Right.
it just like, of course that happened. So I was like, well,
So
and
what
then
exactly
after I got
happened? Yeah,
hit,
what exactly happened to you?
so I went behind our blocker to get tips because that's never been a problem on any other team. And I'm not tall enough to block, so there's no point in me blocking. Anyways, I went behind the blocker to get tips, and then I got hit so severely at about 70 miles per hour,
Oh
which
my
is
gosh.
like a record for a girl's spike. And it hit me so hard that I was unconscious for about 30 seconds, lying in a fencing position, which is also known as posturing. It's just how your body reacts to a brain injury.
My gosh.
And after I came to, the athletic director or my athletic director, their trainer, my coaches all swarmed me, and they helped me get off the court. The trainer checked me, and he asked, "You know what just happened to you?" And I said, "Yeah, that boy just hit me." And then he did one test on me and said I was all good and could go back in to play.
Wow.
And my coach was like, "No."
Right. Right.
So thankfully, so since I had like, oh, can you hear me? Oh,
Yes, we can definitely still hear you. It's freezing a little bit, but it's looking good. So
oh, okay.
you were saying that the coach had you to sit out because he could see, probably he or she, excuse me, could see that, you were badly hurt.
Yeah, she could tell immediately. I was completely out of it. My adrenaline was rushing, but I still was not like able to go back in.
That's so just wild. I can't even imagine. So did you wind up having to go to the hospital that night?
So it ended up being on Labor Day weekend. And we we were gonna go to the hospital, but for concussion protocols, we had to stay home and like see how bad it got the next few days.
Wow.
And it just kept getting worse. So we ended up going to my primary doctor,
Right.
and she referred me to a neurologist immediately.
And what did the neurologist diagnose you with?
They laid out all the issues that was there. I had a brain bleed, I had a concussion,
Oh my
permanent
gosh.
whiplash, and a lot of things that follow that I'm still dealing with today. But, um, I just took that, and it was really frustrating because it was my last season of sports, and
Wow.
they told me I might not get to come back and play any of the sports that I've been playing my whole life.
And have you ever returned since?
Thankfully, I did. I'm thankful that the Lord let me heal enough to be able to continue to play. Obviously, I did not perform at my best ability like I had in the past.
Right.
Volleyball, I never got to return to. And then basketball, I kind of returned like halfway. My parents and athletic director and coaches kind of used basketball as a physical therapy for me. I could only do certain things, and I could only practice in like certain situations. So that was kind of a physical therapy in a sense. And then softball came around. I'd gotten a lot better since the injury, but still could not perform like I had in the past.
My gosh. So that's actually, a really good question to analyze. It's like, what was your life like before this happened? And what is your life like now? Like, what are the daily things that you notice now that you could do before, but now it seems like it's just a task to do because of what happened?
Yeah, so a good example of that is I was always a really good um, student in school. My whole life, it was always an expectation in our household to do the best we could in school.
Of course.
So I was pretty smart. I did really well in all of my classes except for public speaking. And
Isn't that so
uh,
funny?
yeah, it's like so ironic now. Like
I
I
know.
literally failed that class. But yeah, I was really good in school, and now in college, I'm really struggling, and I'm not able to do my schoolwork like I had in the past, and I'm having to get accommodations at school and extra help because I just can't get it like I used to. So that's a really frustrating thing that I'm still dealing with in my everyday life. There's more, but that one's like the most major.
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. But again, not to laugh about the public speaking thing. It's just that, that's really, that's what you've been doing for the past few months
Yeah.
now, like coming out here and all over the state talking about the women's rights in sports bill. And so we see the significance of obviously keeping just women in women's sports. What a concept. I mean, an actual
Mhm.
biological boy, actual biological man injured you, hurt you, under the guise that he was a
Mhm.
girl. We see these other kinds of things
Yeah.
happening where these guys, men, boys who are able to go into schools, college, under the guise that they're transgender, they're transformed into a woman now, but then women are getting hurt. Women are getting assaulted. Women don't feel safe getting dressed in locker rooms. That these are just such
Mhm.
crazy times to be alive where the argument is that a man can actually now be a woman and come into women's spaces. So to have this bill, I'm very thankful for Vicky Sawyer. She's our representative here in
Mhm.
Iredell, hoping to have her on our next 10 talk, but that she was able to be the lead and the sponsor of this bill. And
Mhm.
that it got vetoed by the governor. I mean, when that happened, what did you think? What were your thoughts on that when he vetoed this?
Well, obviously wasn't surprised. I expected him to veto it. I don't understand why, since he does have daughters,
Yes,
and
exactly.
he should definitely have taken that into consideration. There are there's people that voted for him. I mean, I don't know anyone that voted for him, but people did, and they expected
We'll
him
have you back on
to.
another day for that discussion.
Yeah, they expect him to step up and protect them in the state. And even if you didn't vote for him, you still kind of expect that. And he failed in that category. He did that to appease a small minority.
Right.
And, I will never understand.
No, no. It's, we know what it is. It's, it's an agenda. They're trying to push or trying to
Mhm.
desensitize us here in society. I believe it's much bigger than that. Like I said, we'll have our own private discussions, maybe considering all of that stuff. Maybe I'll have you come on my Rumble channel and we'll get into it over there. But YouTube is probably gonna kick us off if we start talking about Mr. Cooper that way.
Mhm.
So anyway, so to have seen the veto and then to see it go back to the House and the Senate to be overridden, and I saw you up there that day in Raleigh for that historic event. It was great to hear you speak again. I heard you speak before that at a Moms for Liberty event up there as well. Just your bravery and your courage and your boldness to speak out against this agenda that they're trying to push. And I can't imagine even some of the backlash that you're getting, because I know the backlash that I get just for not having been hurt, but just being on the right side of history at the moment. So, that suffice to say, how important was it for you to have seen this historic event happen?
It was extremely important. I was very thankful to have been a part of it. Um, it was really cool seeing that history take place in my home state that I love so much.
Yeah,
And now it was just like a breath of fresh air. Like my sister's not going to have to worry about that
that's
anymore.
awesome.
And it was just, I was very thankful, and it was a really good thing to see.
Yeah, so obviously it's something that you're happy about for others, like your sister, for other girls who were on your team, other girls who are coming up in sports, how vital and important it is to keep women's sports female, as your shirt says, which I love so much. I'm going to have to order one of those for myself. So, what would you say, though, to young women who are not in North Carolina, and who are still facing this battle? We have states like California. I don't see them, reneging on this anytime soon. Out in the West, I don't see places like New York and New Jersey reneging on any of this kind of legislation. I see them pushing for it. We see even what's going on in Massachusetts right now. So what would you say to a young woman who really is passionate about the sport, but has to face these challenges right now with having boys to go up against?
Yeah, I would just say keep fighting, keep praying. Praying is the best tool you can do or you can use. North Carolina wasn't an ideal state to have passed this, obviously, since it was such a hassle to get through. But
Yeah.
no one really knew about North Carolina, and it still ended up passing. So I would just say keep fighting for what you know is right, keep speaking up, and keep praying, because nothing's possible without the Lord.
Amen. And that's another good point. How do you feel that your faith has really, driven you in your boldness and your courage? How do you feel that the Lord has, led you in this journey?
I'm extremely thankful for him. I'm so blessed, and I wouldn't be able to do anything I'm doing without him. That is 100% the truth. I would not be able to do it. I think it's because I have such a foundation in Christ and in my salvation, in my family, my home. So I think that's why I really don't have any problem with speaking out, because I know what I'm doing is right, and I'm just doing it to help other people. I'm not trying to be mean in any way.
Right.
I'm just trying to help as many girls and women as I can.
That's awesome. And it goes to show, during this time, it really stinks. It really stinks that this happened to you. And I'm very sorry that this happened to you. At the same time, maybe if it were to have happened to somebody else, they would have just gone off into the shadows and been quiet and been timid and not wanting to come out and to advocate and to speak against the things that are morally wrong. Not to say that, not to say that God chose you for this to happen to, but when you think about the whole picture of it, the way that things happened and that how they turned out, your voice, you found it. You found your voice in this situation where you thought that maybe you wouldn't be able to speak. It's almost like how God called Moses from the wilderness and he was like, Lord, I don't even know how to talk. And how you were saying about public speaking, was a challenge for you, but it's almost like the Lord is using you now as a mouthpiece to be an advocate for other women, for women's sports, for fairness, and for what is right and what is moral.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it happened to me for a reason. And I feel like I was the best person for it to happen to. I would have been so mad if it happened to anyone else on the team. Uh,
That's true.
I
Okay.
don't know what I would have done if that would have
That's a good
happened.
perspective to have. Like maybe the Lord was like, well, if it doesn't happen to her, she's going to jump across not the hoop, the net right now and flip some chairs. So maybe
Yeah, really. Just
that's,
seeing it all lay out, like the Lord lays things out so perfectly. Like my parents weren't there, and that just would have made it worse. And
wow. They weren't even
they feel bad
there.
for not being there. No, that was the only game they've ever missed.
See that? That is
And
so
yeah,
crazy. Wow, I can't even imagine.
yeah.
So that
So
opened up a new conversation, girl. So hang on. Okay, so your parents weren't there. So then how in the world did they even find out? How did they react? What in the world?
yeah, so my grandma was there.
Okay.
And I think she like told my dad maybe, but as soon as I got done, as soon as I got like we were leaving the game,
Right.
um, I called my mom and well, first we went out to the bus and no one knows this, but they literally threw pizza all over our bus. So we were having to deal with that issue
That's so
at the
crazy.
time. So then I called my mom and I was like telling her what happened and she just broke down. Just told me like felt so bad for not being here. My dad feels bad because he thinks he put me in that position,
Oh
which it
no.
wasn't his fault, but
Right.
he just feels that way. And it was just a lot of emotions.
My goodness. I can't even imagine being a parent and being called about that, especially a dad. I can't imagine me being a dad because it would just
Yeah.
feel like to me, again, I'm not a man, so I can't jump into a man's mind right now, but it would just feel like to me like my baby girl just got bullied and just got beat up on by some big boy pretending to be a little girl, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just I can't even imagine your parents' reaction to that. And I do pray for your dad's heart to know
Yeah.
and not feel that and that guilt that would not be something that you know he continues to think about or dwell on because you're thriving now, you're doing well. I know that you're
Mhm.
still facing some challenges, but I see your strength. Again, I see your boldness and your courage, and you're just a beautiful person. you know.
Thank you.
Aw, of course. Definitely. So, with the results that did take place, with the overrides, what do you think? So, how do you think women's sports here in North Carolina are going to go now that men are not allowed to participate? Do you think we're moving in the right direction here in the state concerning this stuff?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I think girls aren't going to be afraid to play now. More girls are going to want to play. They're not going to feel unsafe in their locker rooms,
Right.
and on the court. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for that safety that has been set in stone now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that the House and the Senate right now, they're putting in work. They're representing the people well, the majority well, because it's like, I like what you said, that the governor basically vetoed for a minority of people, because most people have morality and common sense to say that, oh, wow, I think it should just be women in women's sports. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
So I am thankful right now for the House and the Senate members to also have that and carry that morality. To be up there in Raleigh and to witness it was awesome, but it was also sad. I think I said it in the vlog that there were 2 women who actually stood up against the bill in the chamber. I couldn't believe it. I was appalled. I was like, I cannot believe you're going to stand here as a woman and advocate for men to be in women's sports. Like, what do you even think about that, Peyton?
Well, my first question was, did they even play sports? When I heard them talk and when I saw them vote on that, I was just like,
Yeah.
did you even play sports? Do you even know what you're talking about?
Right.
But even if you didn't, do you have younger girls and women in your life that you care about enough to want them to be safe
Exactly.
in their spaces? There was one lady that spoke up and said, she was talking about, you remember when she was talking about the locker room and how, like,
Yes.
basically downsizing women being uncomfortable in the bathroom?
Yes, I remember her.
And she was saying, like, what? Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? She was saying how in the locker room they just talked about their goals or something.
Yeah, how it's
like,
being in the locker room together. That's how where the team comes together. That's where they get their motivation together. That's where I was like, well, why do guys have to be there when you're motivating the girls? What? What kind of point is this?
Yeah.
I just, oh man, it just shows the level of disconnection that they have. It's either that or they're really trying to just play on the hearts of their constituents or something. Because to be honest, to have those kinds of thoughts, really, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's what I was thinking. I was like, girl, what sport did you play? Because in my sports, we didn't like have a kumbaya in the bathroom.
I know. Like, I don't know. It was so, that comment was so out there. And then the other lady made absolutely no sense either when she was like, well, you know, it's the same thing as, you know, not allowing women to have drugs, to have, you know, steroids and this and that. And yeah, but guess what? Men are taking those kinds of drugs to become women, and they're able to, like, what? Like, it just was, again, just the disconnect, just the out of touchness. It's, you know, it was so crazy and outlandish to hear their comments to try to back up, like, not overriding common sense policy, you know? So I guess it's nonsensical comments for not having common sense. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. That was my exact thoughts. And then the fact that they had to pay protesters to come to that. Did you see that?
I'm telling you, girl. So, man, I mean, I've had my taste of protester since 2020, 2021. Like, so I'm at this point, I'm kind of used to it. I did put my hat in the ring to run for office as well. So people know my phone number. They know my address and all this. So you just put yourself out there when you're running for office. It just is what it is. So I know some of the legislators have talked about they've gotten threats to their lives, you know, they've gotten threats to their families and things like that. So what kind of backlash, you know, have you been getting? What have you been experiencing on that end of things?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of backlash. Not as much as support, though. There's an overwhelming amount of support that you wouldn't think at the time. But yeah, I've gotten some backlash. I think it like hasn't really bothered me though, and I don't really look at it.
Right.
Like, I get some comments and stuff, but I just don't look at it 'cause I care. And it like worries my mom to death, bless her heart, because she like thinks that it's upsetting me. But I don't even see it, so.
Yes. So the parents, for me too, they're just like, oh, even my podcast, like my mom, like, should you say that? Should you do, like, I don't know, look at this and oh, this post and what did they say? And I'm just like, Mom, just think of it as the work of the Lord right now. I don't know. Every time somebody was doing the work of the Lord in the
Yeah.
Bible, they were getting backlash. So I think I'm doing something right, you know. But I'm so glad that you're
Exactly.
standing
If the
above
world's
it.
hating you, then you must be right.
Hey, there it is. That's exactly correct. See, you're so super smart. You know, I'm glad that you're standing above all that and not letting it bring you down, not letting it bother you at all, because let the naysayers say what they're going to say. We know who is on our side and the side that we are on, and that's what matters. There's more for us than against us, 100%, when it comes to the moral and righteous things that we are supposed to be doing, for sure. So I guess one last question would be, if you could say anything right now to any girl in sports who has dreams, who has goals, who has aspirations to go further, what would be your main encouragement to them right now in the face of just regular adversity that we're facing in the world today? Because we are growing up right now in a world that is just upside down, backwards, and wildness. So, what would you say to encourage a girl right now who wants to further her career in sports? To encourage her?
I would just say, keep fighting, keep working hard. It's you can do anything that you put your mind to. You just got to keep working towards it,
Amen.
and you'll get there.
So, are you going to continue on in any sports right now?
No, I'm not. I'm just sticking to school. It was a possibility of me playing in college, but due to the injury, that
Yeah.
was no longer an option. But yeah, so I'm just sticking to school right now,
Good for you.
and we'll see what happens from there.
That's amazing. And I know you're going to do great things, and you're going to continue on to be an awesome advocate in this area, an awesome advocate for women. I cannot wait to see how far you go, where the Lord has you to go, where He's going to lead you, and you're going to just grow and be amazing, because you already are.
Thank you so much.
You're
That's so
welcome.
sweet.
Thank you so much for stopping by today and talking to us.
Yeah.
I'm just so elated again about the overrides. I'm so happy for you. I'm happy for your journey. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. We're going to see you up there at the Salt
Yes.
and Light Conference. My next vlog. Looking forward to it. So we'll get a little soundbite from you again for my my next vlog at Salt and Light.
Yes. Yes, I'm excited.
Awesome. All right, Peyton. Thank you again so much for coming on today. And thank you all for
Yes.
tuning in to our conversation all about keeping women in women's sports. What a concept. We're so glad, again, for the brave men and women up there in Raleigh to have done this historic override of the veto from the governor. And we will see you guys on the next 10 Talk, where hopefully we will be speaking with a senator. So we will see you next time. Blessings and best regards, Lakeitha Bobish, a voice for we the people.